What's up, guys? It's Wolfgang back with another Dorkfish Collection review, and today we are going over the 2012 Neca TMNT Michelangelo and Donatello. I'm excited for this, so let's get to it. And before we start the review, let's just go ahead and cover the TMNT timeline into these turtles, if you will. So, the first cartoon, major success, we all know about that. And then you had the second reboot, the 2003 TMNT, a little grittier, a little darker, more anime inspired. And then move all the way up to 2012. I do believe this is the third iteration, animated speaking, of the Turtles not in film. So you had the 2007 movie TMNT. That was CG or 3D animated. That was totally different from the live action films that had happened in the 90s. But this is the third iteration of animated TV series Ninja Turtles. This is the first time, if I recall, in animation, the Turtles were different shades of green as well as different sizes. So a lot of different things happened with this animation that made it unique and special and stand out. And that is reflecting in these figures here. You probably already see it, but we're going to cover that. Now, as always, we are going to start with accessories and box. We start with the box first. So let me show you both of their boxes. So, lovely cover. Nice and detailed. Art style's great. You can open it up. You've got some interesting art in here. The backdrop is the same in all of them. You got the Nickelodeon TMNT on the side. On this side, you get a picture that's painted when you get all the figures together. And then this on the back, that's Donatello's, Michelangelo's, there. Good on the front. Different art on the inside, nice and colorful and vibrant. Same backdrop, same logo, same backdrop. Put them side by side, and you've got this right here. I'm assuming Raph and Leo go here and here. We'll see when we get them in. But, all right. And first, we are going to start with Michelangelo's accessories. So, Mikey, he comes with a few really good things that I really like. Small things to start. Going to be tough to show. But if you can see this, these are the eggs they used in the show to create the explosions to vanish, the smoke bombs. Historically speaking, this actually eggshells were used for smoke bombs for ninjas, so that's pretty cool. I like the accuracy within the show and within the toy line here. You get the shell device here. Nothing on the front, but it is reminiscent of the original Turtles show, as well as this show that they used it to communicate and call. You get, of course, a slice of pizza. Look at that. Very well done, and it is painted all the way around. So well done there. A really cool piece, you're going to get, with each character, a pet. So with Michelangelo, you get his cat that was turned into a ice cream cat. And it is slightly articulated. We'll cover that, I think, in articulation. So we'll take care of that. But you get some array of hands and heads. You get the head that is on him in package, the smiling head. The hands that are there, they're not really gripping. They're not quite closed. They're kind of weird in between hands there. And you get this head right here, his attack blank stare, or blanked eye, I should say, head. Very well done. Painted well. You got the freckles all the way around. You got the short bandana. Everything. Very well done. Very happy with that. You get different sets of hands. So you get a pointing hand for each side, right? You get this kind of relaxed hand here. You get this hand, more of the gripping hand. This is going to hold his turtle shell, the communicator. You get these relaxed hands here, which are, you know, the party dude hands. And I misspoke a little, so I'm going to go ahead and address it now. The hands that are on him do hold his weapons. So I believe that's the same with Donnie. Just going to say that right now. I made a mistake. My bad. But that's what the hands are. And then you get his weapons. Speaking of which, you're going to get his nunchucks. And both sets of nunchucks are like this where it's got the lax chain, and then it's got the handle and the wider base for putting it in his pouch on the side. You have to put them upside down to get them in. I can get a short video of that potentially. But what's unique about these, what I like, and there's likes and dislikes, what I like about these is the caps. Let me see, boom, pop off like that on both sides, all the way around, both sets of nunchucks, because you get this accessory too. And this accessory is fantastic. It's chained as well. It ports in with this here. So you can port, let me just take one of these off. And that was a little tighter. Boom, pop that. Oop, I just pushed the diode a touch. Bring that back in, boom. And then that one that I popped off, you can now take that and slide it into this here. Boom, and now you've got his nunchuck accessory holding on to that weapon. So, a good array of accessories. I think they did a fantastic job with Mikey on that. All right, in covering Donatello's accessories, we're gonna start with the creature out of the way. You get his big brain chicken. There is no articulation with this one, unlike the cat, so he'll go aside. You get similar accessories in terms of you get the piece of pizza. Same thing, literally the same piece. You get the egg as well for disappear or for vanish. You get his shell communicator as well, which I think is pretty well done. So fantastic there. You also get his goggles, which is pretty well done. It's done on a slant, so you can't mix it up the way it fits on the head. You just got to be careful with the two different heads. You've got the bandana sits a little different on each one, so make sure you tuck it in right. You've got his accessory here, which is in real world a Game Boy, an original Game Boy. I don't remember what episode and what exactly device it is. I don't remember what it was turned into. I have to go back and check. But it's very well done. And then getting into his heads and accessories. Now, right quick, as far as his head, hands, and weapons go, that is not the head that comes on him in package. That is the alternate head. I put it on there because I prefer that with the Smiling Mikey. He comes with this head, his serious head, or the white-eyed head, in package. All of the bandanas, by the way, on all of them are able to swivel. So, just a little note there. Very well done. As far as hands go, the hands on him, of course, hold his weapons, just like Mikey's would. Out of package, you get pointing hands for him, both sides, left and right. And then you get grasping hands like these for both sides. These are going to hold his other accessories, his detectors, his weapons, not weapons, I apologize, his detectors and other accessories there. So that's that. Now we get into weapons. And I really like his weapons. We're going to start though with his back piece. It's a pliable rubber. It plugs in on his back. He's got a porthole that you have to line up with his belt. I'll show you in a second. But see, it squishes. It's pliable rubber. Pegs right in, holds his staff. There's his staff. I think it looks fantastic. Very well painted. Very well sculpted. Looks good. And then it ports apart. Let me find the right side because it only ports in one section. Boom. All right, so it ports in only one section, right? And the reason it ports is just like, I think later in the show, second or third season, you get the blade parts. Let's look at that. Sculpt is very well done. For the most part, the paint is good. I mean, you've got the bleeding there on mine. It may not be the same way on everyone's factory, but for mine, you got the bleeding. But otherwise, great choice of paint. It looks good. It's got depth to it. And then you can plug it in. It's a little tighter than the other part of the staff, but you still get in, boom, and you've got his extended blade staff, right? So there's his weapons accessories. And then, of course, like we said on him, you've got now the smiling face or the happy face, right? So that being said, that's all their accessories. Let me go ahead and show you the putting in Mikey's weapons and Donnie's weapons on the pouches. All right, and for them, you want to make sure that you're going to get the arms out of the way because the arms will sit in the way of Mikey. Look at that adorable guy. Look at that face. They did so good. It's so perfect to the cartoon, but we're going to talk about that in aesthetic. So you want to make sure you get these upside down. I may not be able to do this on camera. I may have to do it off camera. Make sure you've got, so there's a wide part, a narrow part. Make sure you got narrow to narrow because that's kind of all the space you've got. And they are rubber. They will fit in fairly well. Boom, there you go. Both sides, left and right of Mikey will look like that. And then let's do Donnie. Now, as you can see, the port for the staff doesn't quite line up there. You have to mess with it. I pull from the front. I kind of have to pull that forward to get it to line up. Boom, you get it to line up just fine. But the big thing is this is a soft rubber. It's not just going to push right in. So you need to put the bow staff in first on this and then pop it in. So right quick, I'm just going to do that and then... Now, I had to cut away and come back to it because it took me a second, just like the first time. Luckily, the kind of rubber they use for the strap and this is pliable so that you can pull on it and tug on it as needed. But it is very tough to put on, so do be careful because you could rip and tear that. Even if you see right here, you can see that gappage. It's very tough to get in there if it's not lined up. You may get a version that's lined up. Mine just could be just a touch off and no one else's is. If that's the case, fantastic. But just know if you've got to line them up, you're going to need to pull that strap up a little bit. But don't be afraid to pull on it. It is holding very nicely. They did a good job with the kind of rubber they're using. So with that, we're going to go into aesthetics. And they do a fantastic job with these. I think looking at the models in which they pulled from, they did a great job, guys. Everything's angular in spots it needs to be angular, and rounded and soft in spots it needs to be rounded. Great wash, great paint job. I think they did a good job even capturing the different kinds of greens for the turtles so far, at least with these two. We'll see as we get to Raphael and Leonardo. But even the promo pictures for them look amazing, same as the Shredder. So I'm excited to have those. But we'll start with Mikey, of course. So let me just pull Mikey here. Nice vibrant green. Good job on the darks. The darks are, of course, are painted in. You can see a little bit of fading and fuzzing there where you might not have caught. But what I like is, even though on the knee pads, so look at the knee pads. You've got this part here. I'd have to go back and check and see how accurate it is as to whether or not there was a different color on the stitch across. But the scratching and damaging is a different color. So and then there's a wash. There's a detailed wash, and then it looks like the scratching and damaging done over it so that you don't lose it in the wash. They did an amazing job on that, guys. The belts, look at the chipping and tearing away underneath their arms into the parts that hold their shell together. A chipping and tearing and a difference in paint there still. They spared no expense with that. They did a fantastic job. Look at the chest of him. Look at the shell on the back end. The little highlights on it, the ridging, the detail. It's textured. It's so well done. They did a fantastic job. The wraps are raised sculpts, but the paint is so well done on them. There's no fading or fuzzy lines. It's pretty well done. The faces, immaculate. I feel like they captured, this is Mikey, 100%. I mean, even if you look at the other head, for me, this one right here, it's still very well done. The way they did the black outline around the mouth, outside of the teeth, the tongue. You've got the whited out, but you still got the freckles. The shape is right. I think they killed the aesthetic on them. So much so that if you look, notice how right here on this, we'll look at the forearm right here, the bicep, and the thigh. Notice you've got that hard line. That's not a painted hard line. Even on the leg right here, right above the kneecap. Notice you've got that line and shading and shadowing, but that's not painted. That is because of the way they sculpted it to match the kind of dimensions you would get from the cartoon. They nailed it. Same with this up here. That's not painted extra white lines. That is the way they sculpted it to match the dimensions of the cartoon, and it picks up the light perfectly. They did such a good job on that. Even with Donatello, they did a great job. He's got the disproportionate eyes here, whereas Mikey's is pretty clear across the board. But Donatello has got the gold, the silver rivets right here. You've got the X's across the chipping, the same thing, the kind of battle damage and wear across it. The different things to match the different kinds of wraps, because the wraps were different in terms of the colors. You still got the darks across as far as the dark browns and the grays. You still got all of this with the shell work done and textured. You get the same thing with him where there is dimension. Look again, you see there on the thigh, you see it on the shoulder there, you see it across the arm, the way it almost comes off flat but then bulges out, just like the animation would have done. Of course, you're going to run into issues with gaps like the forearms and the hands. That's just going to be what it is. There's certain things you can only do so much for. You can't adjust for totally, but for what they have to deal with and what they were able to accomplish, I think Neca killed it. I mean, there was a run from, I think, Mattel. I want to say it was Mattel when the series first came out, and I had bought them and I loved them. But if you're talking about accuracy to the cartoon and still getting your bang for your buck, this is it. The paint, amazing. The sculpt, amazing. No expense spared. And I'm absolutely going to tell you, very worth it, especially if you're a fan of this cartoon. Now, aesthetically, they are pleasing to me. But the question is, how is the articulation? Well, I'm going to tell you this now. I'm going to show one and not both. And it's strictly because the articulation is exactly the same across the board. There is no difference in them. So it's going to be really easy to cover. We'll just use Mikey here, for example. Because the way it's done, the head is on a double ball peg. So you get that. Oh, let me bump that. You get the head up in there. You can look up about that. Well, let me get this right here out the way. But we can look up about that far. Not huge, but just enough. Look down with the head. And then you've got all your other range and motion that a double ball peg is going to give you. You've got your shoulder joints. Make sure you're careful with them at first, because you've got the paint in the joints. So you want to make sure that you do whatever you got to do to heat them up. But once you get them heated up and moving, I have no issues. This is fresh out of the box after messing with them a day and a half ago. So I'm not really worried about the movement there. But boom, you got both. Your shoulder right there and here. Now, not quite a full T-pose, pretty dang close. You got your shoulder's going to go up, not all the way around because you've got a shell stopping you. That's fine. You've got your bicep swivel, just fine there. You've got a double jointed elbow, as Neca always does. There's some gappage there, a little ugly, is what it is. You've got your normal hinge and pin at the wrist. Now, you're going to get a little more limitation because of the way the wrists are done, the squared off wrists, as compared to like you get a Marvel Legend or so forth, and the wrist kind of sits at the edge of the peg. In this case, the peg is deeper in, so you're not going to get as much, but your rotation, still fine, right? Okay, you've got, instead of a full diaphragm piece that sits out like with a cut, like Marvel Legend has, you've got it inside the shell. Same thing that Neca has always done with Ninja Turtles. And it's something I appreciate because it doesn't mess up the aesthetic, but still gives you a little bit. So you can crunch a little forward. You can move a little back. You can go a little side to side. So you got some movement there. Not perfect. You got a little bit of twist. So you're not going to get some crazy dynamic poses, but you're going to get some decent enough poses out of them. So that's fine there. As far as your legs go, now this is the difference where you get to the weapons with him versus him is, let's just move these out of the way, where his legs will split to. Ooh, gotta get those out. Boom. Yep, see the chain going apart because you can adjust and use any portion. Ooh, that's stuck in there. I'm just gonna pause and come back. It's not as wide as some of the other sets. So this leg goes out pretty far. This leg I've had issues with, and it is the catch of the rubber there. It's not anything else but the seam there. This one's a little higher, so it does fine. It's just to do with where it's at. So you don't get quite the range as you would the movie ones, but your kick out, you got a little bit of turn there, but otherwise your kick out without turning. Here, you do have, of course, your thigh swivel. You've got your double jointed knees. You can kick your own shell. You've got ankles down that far, ankles up fairly far, all things considering. And then you've got a pivot, a very nice pivot. And both of them, again, are universally the same across the board. It's the exact same thing, so you're not missing one from the other, anything different. You've got it all right here. So articulation, ooh, I bumped the camera there. Articulation, I think, is amazing. They did a great job. It's what you need. Can he do certain things like the splits? Unfortunately not, but I'm not worried about it. I get what I want out of him. So you can still do some pretty cool stuff. And with that, we're going to move on to size comparison. And here I have them next to my custom Mezco 112 scale shredder, as well as a Marvel Legends The Hand action figure. I think they scale up pretty well with them. I like that a lot. And here they are next to the DC Multiverse Alfred, as well as a G.I. Joe Classified Legacy Police Officer. And here they are next to their Mezco 112 scale counterparts, the Eastman and Laird versions of Michelangelo and Donatello. Gotta say, I like how they look next to each other, especially in the multiverse crossover kind of mode. Alright, and my overall thought. Are there things that could be better about these figures? Yes, I have some gripes here and there. Some of it's articulation hindering. Some of it is things like certain accessories having some difficulties with hands or going over the head, like Donnie's goggles. They're tough to get over the head. You can do it, but they don't sit quite right sometimes. Or getting the weapons in the hands they belong in can be a pain, but overall, these are winners, guys. These figures are amazing. I would give them a 9 out of 10 any day of the week. So I suggest you find them. I found mine at a local Target, but you can find yours at different places like Target or even a local comic shop like Killer Finds in Hiram, Georgia. That's right, bringing them up again. So check out your local shops, check out your Targets, and don't miss out on these. So with that being said, I'm going to bring this to an end. I'll catch you on the next review. Thanks for watching. Wolfgang is out. Later, guys.